Der Park Langley Show.
In the 40 plus years that I've been in the news business, I have never seen it more biased, more slanted toward the left than it is now. It's really a disgrace.
Of the liberal media. Who are they? They are ABC, NBC, CBS, they are CNN, MSNBC. There's the LA Times, the New York Times, USA Today. Those are the main powerhouses.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Brock Wally program. My name is Brock Wally. I am your fearless host. It's the show we tackle the news headlines, sifting out the leftist alphabet soup, Democrat Party, media, fake news, lies, like the chaff that they most certainly are, from the golden wheat of truth. Serve that up to your ADD, reality television show, Monster with a silver platter. It's the show in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen. I suppose the story that's annoyed me the most. And you had to, you had to buckle in your seatbelts and just expect all this nonsense, because there is no other. It's like 3 sheets in the playbook of the left, right? There is just 3 sheets, but this one, well, it just annoys me. I mean, these Hollywood celebrity sort of award shows, they generally just annoy me anyway. That's like a self pat on the back fest from Clueless, Baby Pool, Shallow, Soapbox liberals, aging liberals that are clinging like driftwood to the relevance of a Holly hack speech with 45-year-old cleavage hanging out and a furrowed brow and a stern tone to their voice at the deplorables that is us. How dare we think otherwise? How dare we think differently than them? How dare we? Scumbags we are. And, you could say a bunch of stuff about this, all the nonsense, the untethered from reality, the disconnect from the Hollywood elites. All that stuff is just not new and boring. I will tell you this. What makes this one a little bit unique is Meryl Streep has the nerve to... She categorizes Hollywood as the other. Did you know that? Hollywood's just, poor little billionaires, millionaires in their 5 Malibu houses. Such outcasts. Voiceless are they. Oh, the others. The downtrodden. The weak. The fearful. Oh, the lack of perspective. It's unbelievable. Anyway, that's sort of unique because, you don't often see that kind of chutzpah. Or at least they don't speak it on air, primetime television. They probably speak it in their wine and cheese parties where they're raising money for sex change operations in prison or something, but not general speak. They have enough concern over their own careers. But that's not really what bothers me. What bothers me is this is one more link in the chain of a message or a branding that just drives me nuts, and that is all things left, all things, i.e., Democrat Party, all things liberal, the soft communism, leftism, socialism gaggle of ideology. All things in that arena, good, moral, wonderful, kind, merciful. You know what I mean? All this stuff. It's just, they speak of it as if it's just wonderful. This kind of stuff just drives me nuts. And the reason it drives me nuts is it's not merit-based at all. It's all just repeat, cough it up, cough the phlegm of this messaging up over and over and over and over again, like a guy with Ebola in a movie theater, just hacking and hacking and hacking. You can't help but ignore him, right? You can't ignore him, rather. It's just nonstop. There's nothing kind about leftism. There's nothing moral about leftism. Ideas should be judged on the fruit. Ideas should be judged on what results have manifest themselves, not what feelings do you get to wrap yourself in it. It just drives me nuts. And then the sort of judgmental elitism that they just descend down upon anybody who dare think anything differently than the claptrap they offer up. And of course they don't mean any of this stuff or participate in any of these ideas. They spout them because they're safe. They're politically safe. They're culturally safe. And why? Because it's continuously reinforced by people like Meryl Streep that leftism is somehow thumbs up A-OK and everything else it makes you a cretin. And to be perfectly honest with you, I really don't know any other way of combating this nonsense other than to just speak up against it. I mean, there's not like a quick fix. There's not a silver bullet solution for this. I mean, the legwork has been done, right? Non-stop film, non-stop TV, non-stop Professor Bullet Pulpit, non-stop leftism, non-stop media reinforcement of this over and over and over. Detached from the fact that, you know, this ideology that they're propping up as the new morality, you know, the new 2017 morality that's replaced Judeo-Christian ethics and the Ten Commandments, the new Ten Commandments of leftism. If you look at where does it manifest itself fiscally? Well, look at the cities like Detroit, Chicago. Look at these poverty rates in these cities. Those are leftist ideas. Those are redistribution leftist ideas. Big government solution ideas. Well, they've impoverished people. They've relegated people to poverty. So I don't find that particularly moral. You have a culture of rampant pornography. You have a culture of pretty much psychological damage on the average person. Leftism has rendered this generation not able to tell the difference between men and women. This is not a moral thing. This will have psychological damage that will wreak havoc in generations to come. And it comes from the fruit of a leftism. You look, just today, a cop gets shot in the South. This is what, 1 of 50 now in the last 3 months? That's the relationship between police officers and the citizenry, thanks to leftism. We got race riots. We got 4 African Americans kidnap a handicapped kid, torture him. That's how, and the whole time it's Donald Trump this and F Republicans that. This is what it's yielded us. And then Streep has the nerve to get up there and lecture us, again, the deplorables, for not aligning with her ideology. And we're scumbags and we're cretins. And of course, leveraging some refuted nonsense about Trump making fun of a handicap reporter. Now, that's thoroughly refuted, by the way. But she doesn't care. She doesn't care because she knows half of the people, if not more, watching the Golden Globes don't know or care, for that matter, that thing's been refuted and that's not true. It's not so much that the Hollywood's left, because we all know the Hollywood's left. They're bored, rich cowards, moral cowards is what they are. And that's been the case my whole lifetime. But it's this, like, better than thou. There's this elitism that they just trumpet based on nothing, based on failure and poverty and lack of opportunity and crippling of the education system and race, class, gender division. It's just sickening. There is no moral legacy of leftism. It is poverty. It is anger. It is hatred. It is division. And I'm so tired of it just making up willy-nilly, just whole cloth, its own realities, living in its Alice in Wonderland realities, speaking to us as though those realities bear any resemblance of the world that we all live in. It's just ridiculous. Enough already. And it's more of an annoyance than anything else, because the last election bore out that the American people are sick of this crap. So in that sense, I take solace. But it just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. They double down. They learn nothing. They have no self-correction. How many times have I been down this soapbox? It's just, I sit back and I marvel. Meryl Streep has this library of photographs she's taken with Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton is a criminal. Hillary Clinton is a known criminal. Her foreign policy got untold thousands and thousands of innocent lives to bleed out in the sands or shores or pavement or rubble of their land because of her horrendous foreign policy. Libya alone will have historians turning page after page of rebuke. This is preposterous what these people have rolling around in their mind as marbles, disjointed from anything that anybody paying attention would call reality. I'm just sick of it. All right, guys, that's my soapbox spiel. That's the front end of the podcast sort of diatribe that I go on. I just had to get it off my chest. It's therapeutic is what it is. Let's jump into the stories, ladies and gentlemen. The Fort Lauderdale shooter now, all kinds of evidence coming out. let's call him the mass murderer, because that's what he is. He just comes in and just spills innocent blood. What I'm going to report to you is the blatant media malfeasance surrounding this thing, of course, which would surprise no one. But it's just shocking in its irresponsibility and its lack of intellectual credibility and its lack of intellectual honesty. And the only refute to this stuff is to completely call it out with the alternative media, which is the real media, by the way. I love how on all the social media, they got these little goons. They're all paid, running around. Fake news. This is all fake news. If you cite anybody but like CNN, they're fake news. Fake news. No. I'll tell you, everything they're saying is reverse. Anything from the alphabet soup is fake news. That has been thoroughly proven out in the last election. And it's actually the alternative sites, the sites you might not have heard of, that are being diagnosed as fake news from CNN. CNN so refuted it's unbelievable. CNN got caught not only in WikiLeaks with their main actor, their entire stable of TV personalities orchestrating like a sort of Irish jig dance with the Democrat Party to spout off, party talking points on air. Donna Brazile gives away questions to the Hillary Clinton camp before the debate. I mean, this CNN, the Communist News Network, the Clinton News Network, thoroughly refuted, and these guys are running around calling people fake news. Anyway, Fort Lauderdale shooter, direct ties to Islamic extremist groups, direct ties now, all the evidence coming out. There's a piece in gotnews.com. Gotnews.com, you can look this up. Mass murder has deep ties to Islam. Charles Johnson doing the homework here. No mainstream coverage of this, reporting of this. I wonder why. And by the way, I got to tell you, I'm deeply suspect of these pictures. I'm seeing these pictures. I know they're calling this guy a white Hispanic. If you haven't seen my YouTube video on this nonsense, you should see it. Every time there's a crime. Every time there's a crime that isn't a white guy, it's like they put the word white in front. White, black. White Islamic. White Hispanic. White. I mean, it's just like this stuff can't be any more laughable. Anyway, I have what I deem to be a very funny and well worth your time video on YouTube, the Atheist Antidote YouTube page. If you want to check that out and share it with your friends. Anyway, this term returns. But I'm looking at these pictures. The guy looks. I don't know. The guy looks shockingly Islamic to me, and the reason I mentioned this isn't to be some sort of, styrofoam or aluminum hat conspiracy theory. It's because the media has a track record of manipulating the truth on this stuff, of misreporting this stuff purposefully. Because I remember when I was in these editorial rooms, they literally would shape the wording of their reporting, and they would say stuff like, I don't even know if you guys know this. They would say stuff like, if let's say a black guy murdered a bunch of people, they'd be like, if we report that he's black, all these Whitey McWhitefills are going to go out there and put on their KKK uniforms and just beat down African Americans for no reason. And I used to say, based on what? What are you basing this ridiculous nonsense? Well, we all know the internal steeped racism that exists in this country. I'm like, what are you? The fact that you're even saying that's ridiculous. Just report the truth. Who cares what the guy's skin color is? If the guy perpetrated a crime, just tell him the truth. Show the guy's picture. You don't got to throw it through all these filters and manipulate the way the guy looks. They did that with Trayvon Martin. They did that with Chris Brown. They're always doing it. So they go back and they get like a baby picture of the guy, and they report that. Meanwhile, the guy's like 25, built like a tank, like a Green Bay linebacker, and they're showing a picture of him when he was in the second grade on the news. It's just this stuff is preposterous. They have no respect for you as the viewer. No respect. Anyway, look this stuff up yourself. Gotnews.com. The guy's just drenched in like Islamic affiliation, which of course is why he walked in and randomly shot people in the name of Allah. But they'll report if the guy, was in a little league somewhere, that'll be the motivation rather than it was our nation's little league baseball factories of privilege and hate. We really ought to look into the motivating factors. No, Islam! Hello, Islam! That's what the average American is screaming at their television as this stuff gets reported. I assure you of that. I assure you of that. Anyway, it's infuriating. It's infuriating because this is very real. This is as high-stakes poker as it gets, my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 5 victims we know now. 5 murdered victims. Now, what should happen, this guy, we know he did it. He's all over camera. This guy should receive swift justice as he's murdered fathers, sons, children, wives. You know, these people, they kiss their loved one just like you did today. They kissed whoever they love, their girlfriend, their wife, their fiance, their children, goodbye. Never came back because this psychopath snuffed out their life. And instead, we'll debate the periphery, the politics of it all. We'll move pieces around on the political chessboard. These families, who have every right to justice under our Constitution, will receive no justice. No one will know their names. This guy will probably end up, getting out at some point because the ACLU will deem it some sort of institutional racism to keep somebody with brown skin in a prison. That for a fact that's around the bend. Whereas actual justice, when you remove the life, never to return, by the way, you can't make recompense on a murder. Justice, by all standards of justice, is to take this man's life. But no, we're morally confused today. And it would be far more, you would get far more outrage if justice were to be implemented here and this man were to be immediately punished by law in a just way. He removed 5 lives forever from this earth. So clearly keeping his life would be unjust. But he will. And if anybody were to make a move to implement justice here, there would be all kinds of outrage by the left because they're moral eunuchs. Anyway, I just thought I'd draw attention to that. BuzzFeed has a great piece on that matter. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of leftist moronic behavior, on its face, moronic behavior. This is what the left concerns themselves with. In this world of grave evil, ISIS, we're going to get to a story that will chill your bones later. Genocide happening, moral depravity everywhere. This is what the left concerns themselves with. A convicted California killer, murderer, it should read, is to receive a taxpayer-funded transgender surgery. Your tax dollars at work, by the way. That's why never again should Democrats govern anything. But they completely monopolize California, which is why this is the fruit that you get from that soil. So and by the way, California is, I quote you, $600 billion in the hole by way of a budget. But they're spending money on convicted killers to get sex. So basically to cut off twig and berries from this murderer. Now you have that picture in your mind. Are you fully paint by number that picture in your imagination? Now put an equal sign in front of it. Leftism. That is the modern day Democrat Party. That is leftism. It's important to understand this, ladies and gentlemen. That's what happens when you think like a leftist. That's where you end. That's where you arrive. You want to take hard-earned, the guy laying brick in flyover states, who's basically supplementing California anyway, because they're so much in the hole, the federal government's bailing them out left and right. The guy laying brick, Uncle Sam's taking a huge chunk of his paycheck, calling it investments. What is he investing in, it turns out? Lopping off twig and berries from convicted killers in California prisons. This is leftism. This is leftism. This is the disease, the arsenic, by way of ideology, of leftism. And it's important to repeat it and scream it from the mountaintops because it's true. It's true. Hosted.ap.org has that story. Again, hosted.ap.org has that story. You can just visit my Facebook page or my Twitter account. The sad life of a global warming journalist. Now that Trump has been elected, the monster of Trump, the cretin, the five-headed cretin of mythology that is Trump, Mother Earth could just pack up her bags and wander home. We're not going to get anywhere on the global warming front. The religion, this stand-in religion of Democrats, the standing religion of the godless gaggle of secular extremists, the pantheism in disguise. We're not going to get any attention. Nobody's going to pay any attention to us. Oh my goodness, these people are just so out to lunch. The sad life of a global warming journalist. It's a global warming journalist. If that's not an oxymoron, newsbusters.org has a hilarious story on that front. Hilarious. Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Times get advertisers to boycott hate sites. What are hate sites? Conservative sites. Anybody saying anything that refutes leftism, that calls out their lies and their misinformation and their factless nonsense. These are hate sites. You understand that? Hate sites. That's their new term. I mean, they come up with these terms so often. It's like a whack-a-mole game. Like, boom, boom, you're whacking them down. They keep popping up. These guys, the only thing the left's good at, they're not good at creating jobs. They're not good at solving problems. They're not good at international politics. They're not good at balancing a checkbook. They're not good at classical education. I mean, they're a fail fest and everything, but they're awesome at making up these nonsense Orwellian terms. They just toss around willy-nilly. They're like hate sites, fake news, hate sites. It's all projection, by the way. It's all projection. But anyway, they want to boycott them. I mean, fascism, totalitarianism, authoritarianism. It all enters stage left. I don't care what your professor told you. Your professor who never had a job at McDonald's and picks his own earwax out and eats it in front of the class. I don't care about that guy's opinion. I'm telling you, if you read history, totalitarianism, which is total control of the government, authoritarianism, fascism, force you to do what they want you to do with the gun of the state, with the legislation of the state. That's leftism, ladies and gentlemen. Silence anybody, boycott anybody, deprive them of making a living if they don't agree, if they don't spout the party line. The brown shirts, the thugs of today, leftists. Anyway, they're trying to get advertisers to pull money. And they cite Breitbart. Of course, the big target, Breitbart. If you're targeted by the left, that means you're effective at unearthing their half-truths and misinformation parade. Anyway, the New York Times says that their entire effort will be to attack Donald Trump. They just openly say this now. I mean, I don't know. On the one hand, I kind of like it when all cards are on the table. I do. This is a quote from Joel Pollack. He answers effectively in this way. You can read this in Breitbart.com. Anything the New York Times can do to destroy Trump, it will do. End quote. It's just remarkable. This is journalism on the. But there's so when you read this and you're from the Upper East Side of New York, you're thinking that's exactly what you should do. That's what any good person would do. That's the only thing worth doing. The only thing moral thing to do. It's just. Anyway, let's move on. University of London. This is a quote. We don't want to study white philosophers. You know those colonial apologists like Socrates, Plato, Kant. Those crackers. What do they have to offer mankind? Bunch of crackers. Wrong skin color. You almost wonder what kind of bubble you got to live in to think that blatant racism is, in effect, in their world, this is a way of fighting racism. So they make up boogeymen like white supremacy in 2017 or KKK and Around the Shadow. All this stuff, totally nonsense. Zero threat. Zero footprint in modern society. Zero influence in modern society. Zero. Not less than zero. The only place that exists is on the pages of the hyperbolic and hysterical New York Times and in their imagination, where they don't fight real evil, but they fight these made-up boogeymen that they create. And to do so, they decide to be blatantly racist, as if we don't want to read anybody like Shakespeare, cracker. We don't want to study the white philosophers like Socrates, cracker, Plato, cracker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not making this up. They're saying this. These are the universities of lower learning that we send our children to, that we pay big money, top dollar to send our children to. Telegraph.co.uk. Vet this stuff. Don't take my word for it. Look it up yourself. This is the world you live in. Ladies and gentlemen, as we will now strip Obamacare like a Thanksgiving turkey, and rightfully so. Strip it as the fail tree. Strip the ornamentation off the fail tree that it is. Ladies and gentlemen, I cite you UK's national health care in total and complete fiscal meltdown, in case anyone had romantic notions of socialized medicine. And I know they're out there. I have a lot of leftists that listen to this show. These are realities that you should do business with as you spout off nonsense. Because the reason that I hold the opinions I have is because I have looked into these things. So the reason I oppose big government healthcare isn't because I hate anybody, and it isn't because I want to make America sick again or any other slogan that you come up with. No, it's because I've watched this stuff. I've watched how it's destroyed families. I've watched how it's destroyed people's healthcare options. Of course it would. Of course it would. It doesn't obey any realities at all, fiscal or otherwise. Believe it or not, this world has limited resources. Believe it or not, there are limited doctors. Believe it or not, medical practitioners and medical devices cost money, and on and on and on. Those are all real things. So when you factor in solutions to healthcare problems, you got to factor those in. You don't just feel all over the place. It doesn't do anything for anybody. That just drives up debt and, drives out actual healthcare from the marketplace. And I evidence you a complete and total meltdown of the golden calf of leftist socialized medicine, which is the UK national health care crisis. Right there it is. Right there it is. Yahoo.com has a story. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been shocking how little attention that the Black Lives Matter motivated torture of a white kid. If you watch this video, it's hard to even make it through it. It's so sickening. And I evidence you, this torture of this kid is the Barack Obama's race relations legacy. This is what it is. This is his race. You hear the speech in this video, it's word for word Democrat Party talking points. And how disgusting that the media will not. I'm going to ask you a question. Imagine a bunch of white kids kidnapped a black kid, duct taped him, kicked him, spat on him, urinated on him, physically assaulted him. You mean to tell me, I want you to do business with your own intellectual honesty here. You mean to tell me that wouldn't be front page news on everything would come to a screeching halt, and that's all you would hear about. You know it, right? I don't even need to convince you of that. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican. You know that's true. So I ask you, why is it buried in this case? Why? Where is the fake news coming from, my fellow Americans? Who are the dishonest? Who are the manipulators of truth? And ladies and gentlemen, I assure you, truth will set you free. It doesn't matter how ugly it is or how unpleasant it is. Truth, real truth will set you free. Fact. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a real world problem that you won't hear from the left. There is a room somewhere filled with ISIS members that think up more subhuman forms of behavior than the week previous. And the latest is that they're murdering children now on purpose. They're picking children from the arms of their parents, murdering them on videos. This is ISIS doing this. ISIS allowed them to metastasize in the governance in the tenure of Barack Obama's administration. Depravity like this, we've never seen it. Not ever. Not in the dark ages. Never. We have never seen evil like this. So when you think about all the stupidness like sex change operations in California prisons, think about this. This is real. This is real evil. You don't got to make up evil. This is real evil. And human beings need to stop wasting their time with leftist distractions and face this stuff because it's unjust. It destroys the innocent. Thank you for listening to the Brock Lawley Show. Ladies and gentlemen, be a people of fortitude, character, and courage. I don't just say that. That's what it requires to make the world a better place, and you have a responsibility to do that. Go light up the darkness. Thank you for listening to the Brock Lawley program.
Join the Courage Culture, visit Brock's YouTube channel for an intellectual arsenal against the lies of leftism.